Hi everyone, I am so happy that you have clicked on our video to watch one of our Elements Education classic techniques. It will mean the world to me if you can hit the subscribe button and leave a comment below. I'm very confident by watching this video, it will certainly help you expand your range in hairdressing. Just so you know, you have 42 videos in the Elements course, providing you with all you need to know about cutting, color, and pinups, so you can be a successful behind the chair stylist. Please use my discount code PAUL70 to redeem your 70% off the full package. This is a limited time offer, so get there quick. I'm very happy to share with you our square layering technique. This layering technique is an all-round layering technique that can be used for most of your clients. This also provides you lots of layers and detail through the front areas. The first technique, cutting the baseline, can also be used as a one-length haircut without layering. This is also a suitable layering technique for fine, straight, wavy or curly hair. So let's begin the square layering technique. There's one thing I would recommend you look out for. If you have a client who wants to remove a lot of length, I would definitely start with the length first, followed by the layers. But if the lady just wants a trim up through the bottom, I would start with the layers first. The reason behind that is that it won't take you as long to cut the length. You've only got like a few sections through the bottom because you'll be layering the whole hair. So if a client wants to retain weight, or they've got finer hair, medium to thick hair, they haven't had many layers before, this is another good way to introduce layers in a kind of a very innocuous way. What we're going to do firstly is have a look through the hair. You know, when you're with your clients, it's so important to kind of establish what the hair type is like. Throughout your training with Elements, you're going to really understand different techniques. You're going to go through every different technique throughout the 3 to 4 years. And it's important for us to put the right haircut on the right client that comes in. So throughout your training, you're establishing all the different types of techniques and what they're used for. And then what you're trying to do after your training is actually put those correct haircuts and put your training into practice. So a square layer is used generally for people wanting to create a little bit more volume through the top, or to remove some internal weight, or to create a little bit of layering with keeping the integrity of the bottom shape. So it really holds on to the weight through the bottom and keeps that structure. So let's begin our length. So we take a central profile parting from center forehead right the way through to center nape. And how you do that, you grab your large cutting comb, you use the first tooth of your comb, you take your guide right the way through the middle of the head, middle of the nose, right the way through the forehead, and put your finger behind the first tooth and drag your comb through. This may take a little bit of practicing, as this is one of the first haircuts in Elements. So drag your comb through, do it a couple of times, get comfortable with that. So drag it through to the crown area. So the crown area is just on the curvature of the head at the back. So this will become your radial section. So comb the hair down. I'm going to continue this line right the way through into the nape. Separate the hair in two. So take your first section, about 1 inch deep, which is the width of the comb. And comb the hair down. Comb your first section away and pin the side areas away. It's always nice to work as clean as this. Now, this may take a little bit of work to get used to, but it's something that you will definitely get better at during your training. So don't expect it to be as clean as this right from the word go. It's very important for you to kind of practice with the comb, with the sectioning, holding your scissors and your comb together. What we're going to do is actually tilt the head forward a little bit. And when you tilt the head forward, it prevents any graduation happening through the bottom. If you have the head back, so we just tilt the head forward ever so slightly, and this helps us create this nice structured line through the back. The head shouldn't go forward too much, it's just ever so slightly, just so you can get the hair to fall, natural hair fall at the back. So whenever you comb the hair down, what you're trying to do is trying to get as close to eye level as possible. It's better for your posture, better for you to see exactly where you're cutting rather than bending right the way down. So if you can pump your client up in the seat a lot higher, as high as they can go, or if you sit down on a seat, on a cutting stool, so you get more eye level to the sectioning. So what we're trying to do is cut everything square through the back of the head, okay? So this is like a one length haircut going through the back. Same technique, we're just going to work our way up in diagonal forward sections until we meet the central profile parting. Elevate everything straight down, natural hair fall. We're going to establish a little bit of structure here. So we're going to take off quite a bit of hair. So I work from the center and work my way out. Now I've got to make sure that my hands, my fingers are straight. And I'm going to club cut this. So check my balance through my comb. Make sure that my comb is level. So I am always going to stand directly behind the head to make sure that I get this nice and square. Remember this, if your line isn't square, you potentially have either angled your fingers a different direction or you've pulled the hair over more one side. Therefore, you're over directing the hair. So can you see how far wrong that would be? You're trying to direct the hair down this way, and if you elevate it over here, down to body position, you're completely out. So you need to let it fall, natural hair fall, for you to get that nice structured line. Now I'm going to continue this technique, working my way up the head in diagonal forward sections. So just hold the hair on the side and just pin it. So we've just sectioned our second part of the length. We're going to comb everything nicely down, comb it all down to natural hair fall, making sure my body is square to the back of the head. Club cut this. Nice straight line. So your one length hair cutting technique will be used very regular on every haircut. So it's one of the reasons why we didn't want to just put a one length haircut into the book independently. We wanted to move you forward a little bit into a layering technique, because you always cut a one length haircut on pretty much every haircut that you do. Not unless you're going really, really short, but the layers will always, so if a client just wanted just a one length haircut, you just don't put the layering technique in. So let's move our way up the head and complete the length. Diagonal forward sections into lower recession. I find this a lot quicker to work when you come right the way through into the front areas. Diagonal forward into lower recession. Comb all the way down, keeping square to the back of the head. So this section now comes all the way into the front hairline. So the front hairline will need to be over directed back. So this is your first introductory to over direction. So over direction is distribution of hair. So the distribution of hair is becoming over-directed. So over-directed to square to behind the head. It's important for you to be aware of this because over-direction will retain length. It could also retain weight in graduation. So what we're going to do is over-direct this back to retain the length through here. So continue on from the other side, making sure that you're standing square. The hair is coming down square to the back of the head. And work our way out to the outer levels. The front area gets over-directed back to square to behind the head. It's important for you at this stage to check the balance by feel, and how you do that is get the symmetry on both sides, come down, and by feel you'll be able to understand and establish whether it's longer on one side. Always check it visually through your comb and make sure that that is a nice straight line. Let's work our way up towards our central profile parting. So it's very important for you when you build a bit more confidence to be able to do this comfortably and confidently, because it's always nice for your clients or your guests to see you be diligent with your sectioning. There's another thing that you will need to look out for as well. Whenever you're cutting baselines in or a one-length haircut, you may find that some hair becomes a little bit finer through the top, even if they don't have layers. So therefore, as you work your way closer to the central profile parting, you may not have any more hair to cut because the hair's a little bit finer through the top. So we're going to come in about 2 inches from the front hairline, and I'm going to take a diagonal back. So I'm putting my comb in to my section and dragging my finger with my comb down to the top of the ear. Separate the two sections, comb the hair cleanly, and use my clip to hold that hair away. So you're left with this nice clean section here through the front. I'm going to do the same on the opposite side to get the symmetry correct. So we're moving on to the forward graduation. The forward graduation is a crucial part because this is the face framing layers that will be seen by your guest. It also adds a lot of detail, and it's important that we get this correct. So I'm going to take you through this technique. Firstly, I would like to establish where the client would like to come with the front areas. Some people would like to come to the jaw, some people would like to come to the lip, some people would like to leave it a little bit longer. So today we're going to just leave things a little bit longer through the front areas. A good little tip here, you could actually just cut a little section that the client is happy with. So we've spent time putting in our little one length haircut here through the bottom. So this is a continuation of the one length haircut. So what we wanted to do is actually take the back section, bring it forward, and for it to have that seamless connection and work our way up, we can't take anything from this point. So if we take our guide here, and we've got a guide here, therefore we know the angle we need to come up through the front. So I always like to comb things down natural hair fall. I'm going to hold my hand out and I'm going to cut up. So I'm going to hold my fingers out and I'm going to work my way up towards the confirmed location my client would like to come to. So I'm going to hold the hair in natural hair fall and I'm going to work my way up this direction. So hold my comb just with my thumb, my fingers. I'm going to start cutting towards the front hairline. Hairdressing Live is designed for stylists wanting to expand their range in classic right the way through to creative techniques. Empower yourself or your team with true growth by accessing over 100 masterclasses available to watch now. Hairdressing Live offers lots of different classes designed for everybody's busy schedules, which means you can move your creative journey forward without putting your own life on hold. Don't waste any more time and start your own subscription now. Here are some of the classes we have available on Hairdressing Live right now.
Welcome to Hairdressing Live. I'm Eugene Suleiman.
Hairdressing Live is the future of education, and I'm Christelle Landquist, the Global Creative Technical Director for TG.
Welcome to Hairdressing Live. I'm Alan Austin Smith, the founder of Fantastic Hairdressing.
Hairdressing Live, the future of education, and I'm Tom Connell.
This is Hairdressing Live.
Develop your confidence.
World-class educators, straight to your computer.
Wherever you are, you can watch.
Instantly,
Passion, commitment and dedication.
fantastic way to learn.
High quality.
Information being accessible to people all over the world.
Strengthen your weaknesses, but also strengthen your strengths.
Hairdressing Live, the future of education. I'm Tim Hart.
So you can separate the hair at this time, and you've got your line. As you're working up, you've got your section. You continue that line all the way up to your guide. You get this nice blended line all the way. The reason why you don't work from the top down is that you could lose this corner. So we're going to repeat the same on the opposite side. Firstly, I would like to say that we could take our guide and bring it over to the opposite side. We can then balance it and use this as our guide from here to here. So I'm taking my guide from the top of the ear. I don't want to cut anything from this, and I've got my guide at the top here. So I'm going to work my angle all the way up through to the front. I'm going to comb the hair down, natural hair fall, angle my fingers and work my way up. If I angle my fingers in to the angle that I want to go up, cut those lines. Continue that all the way up to the front guideline. Check your balance by feel. So once we've finished our length and our forward graduation, we're happy to proceed forward. We're going to start the layering technique. To start, firstly, is comb all the hair back. We're going to take our profile section. So a profile section is something that you can always, it's your starting point of the haircut. So you can always revert back to it. So your profile generally is about 1 inch wide. So it's the width of the comb all the way through the middle of the head. Section all the way through. So at this stage, you should be combing and holding your finger on your comb comfortably. Comb all that hair down on one side and then mirror the same section, the same combing technique on the opposite side. It'll leave you with a central profile section. So once we've sectioned our profile section, we elevate the hair directly up, square to the top of the head. A very good tip here is to lower your fingers down and understand where that layer is going to go. You can also confirm with your client or your guest to make sure that she is happy with the length of the layer, because that layer will be the shortest layer that you're going to cut. So if you can't hold all the hair, I would separate the hair in two, elevate the hair up, keep it nice and square, and I'm going to club cut. Can you see this is 90 degrees from the curvature of the top of the head? The head will curve down towards the front hairline. Therefore, there's a slight over direction at the front areas. We're happy with that first section cut. We'll take a little guide from there and continue our line all the way into the back of the head. So elevate the hair directly square to the top of the head and continue that line. Take a section, let that go, continue your line all the way into the nape area. What you will find is that there's not much hair going to come off here because you're over directing here as well. So you're over directing the hair. So the distribution is over directed to 90 degrees from the top of the head. During the course of the book and these videos, you will find yourself working with many different angles. So it's really good for you to understand what you're doing here. And like I mentioned right at the start of this intro, this hair cutting technique removes weight internally, but retains weight through the bottom. So this over direction all the way up helps us maintain this weight through the bottom areas. Once we've cut our profile section, we like to work with that profile section, so we comb it all over one side so we can just work through the left-hand side first. And then when we work on the right-hand side, we'll separate the profile part in and take it over the opposite side. Therefore, we get a good visual of our guide throughout the whole haircut. So we start from the back and we pivot in radial sections all the way through to the top of the ear. Then we're going to change the sectioning into vertical sections from the top of the ear to the front hairline. We pivot around from our central profile part in here. We comb underneath the section. You can comb on top of the section also, but I always like to comb underneath because when we pivot around, we've got to pivot around and that section needs to be pulled out 90 degrees from the head, and then the distribution is over directed to the top of the head. Now you may find you don't take much hair off here. There's a tiny bit of hair coming off, but you'll find more coming off through to the front areas. So pivot around, so you're over directing your first few sections and pushing it out. So then this comes out 90 degrees. So each section needs to come out 90 degrees. Whatever falls, falls, and distribute that up to 90 degrees from the top of the head. We're going to cut that square to the top of the head. We're going to pivot around, come all that hair forward. At this point, you can separate the hair in two. You take a smaller section, but remembering you're going to comb it from behind the section. And that is just so we can make sure that the distribution, the hair comes out 90 degrees from the head. Distribute the hair down and bring it up 90 degrees from the top of the head. Pivot around till you meet the ear. Club cut. This is our last pivoting radial section. Comb the hair from behind, distribute it out 90 degrees from the top of the head. By pivoting around in radial sections from the same point, so I came from the same area. And now, since I've met the ear, I bring my sections parallel and I take it down vertically through the sides. I'll take a vertical section to the top of the ear, elevate the hair directly up, and I'm cutting it square across the top of the head. So another parallel section, so vertically, so parallel to my previous section, and I comb from behind to work towards the front hairline. Now, what you want to be mindful of, as you reach the front hairline, you may find that the hairline comes forward. You may have a little recession area here. So it's important at this point to over-direct the front hairline back onto your previous section. So your previous section was there. So just over-direct the front areas back. Once you've completed one side, you take your profile section right the way through the middle of the head and use that guide on the opposite side. So we're going to continue pivoting around in radial sections through onto the right side. Elevate the hair and comb behind your section. The first section you may find not much comes off. Pivot again from that point. Comb behind the section, over direct the first few sections that you've taken and distribute it 90 degrees to the top of the head. We'll take a little section out, continue pivoting around, radial sections, working my way towards the front hairline. So this is my last pivoting section before I start taking my vertical parallel sections. So I take a little bit of my previous cut section, comb that hair away and take a section which is parallel to my section but come vertically rather than pivoting. Elevate the hair up, cut square through the top of the head. Not here, but here. So remember, my front hairline needs to be over-directed back to my previous section. So my hair cutting technique is now completed. It is important to recognize that if somebody wanted to wear the hair over one side, through the middle, or over the other side, you have cut the hair in such a way that it has that fluid option of wearing it alternate ways, flicking the hair around or through the center. If your client said to you that she wears it over to the side, I would always recognize the fact that you're sectioning for your own benefit to make sure that their own hair will be symmetrical on both sides. So we're going to continue and blow dry our nice square layer technique. You have a few options to blow dry this. You can blow dry it straight, you can blow dry it volume with a flick. You could almost blow dry it smoother. You could also do it curly. But today I'm going to be doing a volume with a flick. So I wanted to create a little bit more lift through the top and then beautifully flick through the sides and through the back areas, just to enhance and show off those layers. So let's begin the blow drying technique. Firstly, I would like to apply some L'Oreal Techniart volume lift. This allows me to give the hair a little bit more volume. It's more of a drier product which elevates the hair out a little bit more. It doesn't weigh it down. It has a lovely spray nozzle that you can just spray it directly into the hair at the root area. I come right the way through to the edges and use a comb to comb the product through. This ensures that we evenly distribute the hair with the product. You will find many different hairsprays or sprays, setting lotions that you can apply on yourself at home, but I would always recommend using something with a heat protect or something that's going to add a little bit more volume to the hair. At this point, we've decided to blow dry the hair over to one side. So I'm going to start with the left hand side. I'm going to be using a medium round brush. Take a section diagonal back away from the face into the nape area. So I take my first section, no larger than the width of the brush. This will give me volume. You can also put the hairdryer underneath the section, right at the root area, and let the hairdryer itself do all the work. See the way I'm turning the brush? I'm turning the brush to create tension. Then I come on top of my section, roll my brush around, And as I roll my brush, I create more tension again. So I'm just going to pull the hair through, right the way through to the edges. Let the hair cool and let it drop out. I'll do that again. So I'm elevating the hair up. I'm dragging it forward to create more tension. I then roll my brush through the top of the section, pull the hair right the way through. I can roll it up a little bit, depending on how flicky I want the hair. When the hairdryer hits the hair, it opens the cuticle. So the cuticle then is open. And when it cools, the cuticle closes around the shape of the brush. And that is when the hair sets into place, into your desired look. And that gives us a nice little flick that we require. So I'm going to continue that technique all the way through into the back. Okay, so moving on to our other section here now. There's something I would definitely recommend you be aware of is when you're blow drying, is when you roll the brush around, that creates more tension. The hairdryer and the nozzle needs to be parallel downwards towards the hair, not upwards, because if you go upwards there, you're going to send the cuticle layer the opposite direction, therefore making the hair look a lot frizzier. So it's important, even when you roll the brush around, you have to go in the flow of the hair. The hair moves downwards or grows downwards. So what we're trying to do is go along the cuticle, away towards the edges of the hair, which then gives us a nice smooth effect. So elevating up. I'm not holding the hairdryer directly onto the hair or the brush, but very close. Add a little bit of heat, let it cool down a little bit, and let the hair go. So continue section by section, working your way towards the back. Depending on the length or the thickness of each hair, you have 3 sections there. You have 1, you have 2, and then you have 3 at the back. It's very good if you can use both hands and you can change your hairdryer from one hand to the other. It gives you more flexibility with creating different styles. So we take a diagonal back all the way into the nape area. What this does, by having this sectioning technique, it makes every section a little bit more seamless and blends through rather than coming up horizontal. I mean, you can come up horizontal, don't get me wrong, but if you come up horizontal, you can change the direction of the blow dry in different directions. So this is section 2 along the top, along my next section, and I have a 3rd section down the bottom here, around the back of the head. Elevate the hair up, give it the volume that is needed. This is a nice soft flick. So I'm going to repeat the same technique on the right hand side, and then I'm gonna see you when we meet the parting. I just wanted to give you an additional tip. As you work through the front areas, or if your parting is coming over one side, I recommend you stand on the opposite side, drag the hair towards you and hold the hair that way. Because what happens there is that you get this beautiful flow. So it gives you a nice little softness there through the front areas. So let me recap this lovely haircut. This haircut is designed primarily for maintaining weight through the bottom and giving some internal shape, or removing some internal weight through the layering. It also adds a lot of detail through the front areas and gives a lot of nice face framing layers. So let's begin. What we did, we started with the central profile parting from the center of the forehead right the way through to center nape. We then took 2 diagonal forward sections and clipped the hair away. We combed everything natural hair fall, slightly tilting the head forward a little bit, combed the head natural hair fall, and club cut it square to the back of the head. Always remember, you're going to be stood square directly to the back of the head. You're not standing here, or you're not standing on the opposite side. You have to stand directly square. We worked up in diagonal forward sections until we came right the way through to recession, lower recession, higher recession, and then all the way up to the profile central parting. We over directed the front areas back and cut it square to the back of the head. We then went through and cut our forward graduation. We separated the hair from the center point, and we came in about 2 inches and took a diagonal back to the top of the ear. We did the same on the opposite side, so we left with 2 panels on either side. So we had a guide here and we had a guide here. The angle is determining on how far and how high you go up. So there's no specific angle degrees where you have to work to. It's basically wherever you choose, because you could be working on different lengths. So it's up to you to choose which angle to work on. So we took our guide from here. We started from the bottom, angled our fingers and cut up to our guide at the top here. We took our guide from one side and took it over the opposite side and cut another little piece. So we had another guide here and a guide here through the bottom. We cut it up towards our guide. Check the balance by feel, making sure that we were happy with everything, make sure it was balanced through the front areas. Then we moved on to the layering. The layering technique consisted of a center profile section right the way through the middle of the head, approximately 1 inch thick. We took a panel right the way through the middle of the head. We elevated everything directly square, it's 90 degrees from the top of the head. As the head curves forward at the front, that got over directed back to square to the top of the head. Everything from behind got over directed up to square to the top of the head. We then moved our profile section over to the left side and we worked in pivoting radial sections all the way through the back area until we meet to the top of the ear. Every section over directed to the top of the head. Once we came to the top of the ear, we worked in parallel sections, but vertically, and over directing that hair to the top of the head. If you had 2 planks on either side working up, you cannot go beyond that point. You can't angle your fingers this way. Has to be square to the top of the head. As the hairline starts to be more visible in recessional lines and the hairline through the front areas, you need to over direct that back up onto your previous section. We blow dried the hair with a volume and flick technique. I hope you like this haircut. This haircut is something which is commonly used on the salon floor daily. You make sure that you choose the right person to put it on. It's a lovely, lovely shape. You can use it on a wide variety of hair types, hair textures. It's very suitable for everybody. I hope you like this haircut. If you would like to watch more videos like this, you can head over to hairdressinglive.com and you can access the full Elements education course. Or you can click the link in the description box below and it's going to take you straight through to the website. And remember, for a limited time offer, we have 70% off and you can use my coupon code, which is Paul70.